Kishan Lara-Cooper.
And how old are you?
Boy.
And where are you from?
Chat.
Hi, my name is Nylee. I'm in 6th grade and I'm 11. I'm a Yurok tribal member.
I queen it now Teh-sa'a Cooper. Nxwe. Kishan Lara-Cooper.
So what's your name?
Natay.
And how old are you?
7.
What grade are you in?
2nd. I'm from Ohio.
And are you a Yurok tribal member?
Yeah.
My name is Sammy Cooper. I'm a Muskogee. I was born and raised in Arizona. I've been living in Humboldt County since 2009.
Hi, nxwe. My name is Dr. Kishan Lara-Cooper. I'm a professor and chair of the Child Development Department at HSU. I'm also Yurok and Karuk.
Hi, my name is Michelle Rayner, and I'm a member of the Yurok tribe from the villages of Pequan, Wakel, and Klamath, and Big Lagoon. And I work at Humboldt State University in the social work department.
So who is Christopher Columbus?
I don't know.
No. Not very well. He just sounds like a weird dude.
He's the guy who actually was the first one to discover us, and actually, as soon as he kind of discovered us, he kind of killed us too.
I know that he came to North America thinking it was India, and he called Native people Indian people, and he was very mean to Indians, and that's pretty much all I know.
So Christopher Columbus is known as the person that discovered America.
Was sent by the Queen of Spain to find riches in India, I believe is what he set out for. But he landed in the Americas and is celebrated for his discovery of the Americas. Although he landed on the Americas and there were already people here.
I think Christopher Columbus symbolizes a false narrative of history and conditions people to believe that Indigenous peoples weren't here for thousands of years. And it's important to know that Indigenous peoples, especially here locally, have been here since the beginning of time, and a part of our oral history speaks to that. But looking at scientific evidence, we know that Indigenous peoples in this area have been here for at least 12,000 years. So by celebrating things like Columbus Day, then we continue to perpetuate a false narrative that Indigenous peoples weren't here before. And we continue to condition people to believe that Indigenous peoples are no longer here today. So it's really important to look at the days that we celebrate and what message we're actually sending to our children, to our communities, about the diversity and the peoples of this area.
What do you think about having a Columbus Day, like a holiday?
I don't think so. And I almost think no.
It's interesting because I think it should be called Indigenous Day. Because it just fits better, because I don't think we should be honoring him.
With Columbus Day, I think, after going to college and doing a little bit of research and finding out a little more about what that guy's all about, I think it's kind of ridiculous to have a day to honor genocidal murder. And, I agree that's what he was all about, and there's just so many different details that I had read about what him and his men did to the indigenous people of this land, or the Taino and the Bahamas. I don't think he ever made it to the mainland.
His letters back to Spain had, some of it was derogatory about Native people. Some of it was really simplified. And I think in some ways he started perpetuating these myths about Native people that still continue today, about us not using the land and, either being very simple people and maybe not having knowledge, to also being violent. So he kind of did those two extreme myths that people believe about the our ancestors, which are not true.
Typically, when you have a holiday, it's to honor a person for their accomplishments. And so, in looking at why do we honor Columbus for his accomplishments? And we know that Columbus was one of many, but what he represents is the attempted extermination of Indigenous peoples. And I often talk about here locally and looking at California Indigenous peoples. We had contact very late. We talk about Christopher Columbus being in 1492. He sailed the ocean blue. Here it was 300 or more years later, so it wasn't until 1850 when we really had exposure with non-Indigenous peoples. And in that time, the destruction and the massacres that occurred. And so there was estimated 1 million California Indigenous peoples in 1850 at the time of contact. And within 50 years, by 1900, there's 17,000. So you have 983,000 people who were massacred through this time of contact. And this is what Columbus represents. Columbus represents what now is referred to by some as the American dream, and that's celebrated by American society. But we as Indigenous peoples think of it as a time of our survival, a time where our people were being murdered, being enslaved, getting sick with diseases, being kidnapped. So to celebrate someone that represents all of that devastation is really inhumane.
If they learn about Columbus, I think it's still perpetuating those myths that that don't do people today good. It doesn't benefit people today. It just furthers those, those ideas that are false.
Certain cities, different cities around the nation are trying to change Columbus Day to Indigenous Peoples Day, and I think that's a good start. Our people voices have always never been heard. We've always been invisible, and so I think that'll be a good start to teach a little more of the truth about, if the schools want to teach Columbus to the kids, they need to teach a little bit more about the truth of what he did to the Indigenous people.
What do you think about Indigenous Peoples Day?
I think doing fun stuff.
Do you think that's a good idea to have Indigenous Peoples Day?
Yeah. I think it's actually the best one.
Do you think that that instead of having a Christopher Columbus Day, it should be Indigenous Peoples Day?
Yeah.
I think it creates more opportunities to learn about what our true history is, like a fuller history, to know the people were the people in our communities, the original people of the Americas, and folks can learn about tribes and know that they exist today and that they're thriving and that they have all these beautiful things in our communities that maybe they didn't have a chance to learn about before.
Something like Indigenous Peoples Day recognizes that Indigenous peoples are still here, that we're still thriving, that we still have our language, ceremonies, and culture, that we're human beings. It's a celebration of our resilience and our intergenerational strength. It provides an opportunity for testimonial justice where our people can talk about their experiences and this history that sometimes is often not shared in the school systems or within our community. So if we're not ready yet to talk about the genocide that has happened here in this area in Humboldt and Del Norte counties, then the least we can do is discontinue the perpetuation of the false narrative, to stop celebrating things without talking about what they actually mean.